call to order the regular meeting of the West Valley City Council for tonight. We note that all council members are in attendance. With that, we will turn to Councilman Don Christensen for our opening ceremony.
Thank you, Mayor. Recently, we've had a small birthday for the United States called the 4th of July. And I've been reading in an historical novel about the Revolutionary War period. And right now, I've been reading about how they came up with the Constitution that we all live under. And, you know, back in my college days, I was a history minor. I thought I knew history. But this development of the Constitution has brought some new insights into my life, and I'd just like to share a few of those with you before we do our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. The men who met to discuss the Constitution developed a new type of government, a completely new government that had not been known in the world before. They were unknown. They were unsure about what would come of that. And because they were working on this new type of government to go from the Articles of Confederation that were much like the English government we had been under to this new type, they met in secret. You know how hot it's been this last little while. They met during July and August in Philadelphia in the heat of the summer in a closed room where they kept all the windows closed and all the drapes closed so that no one could see or hear what was going on. Think about that for a minute. No air conditioning, not even an open window to let a breeze in. And they sweltered through that and came up with the Constitution in approximately 8 weeks. And that Constitution has lived now for over 150 years. Yes, it's a living document. Yes, we change it. But it was a brand new type of total government that nobody had ever seen before when it came out. Many times we take that for granted because we've lived under it for that 150 years. I'd just like us to think about that as we pledge allegiance to the flag tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I note that it looks like we have a scout troop or group of some sort here tonight. And traditionally we invite someone to come up. I guess you've been prepped on that. Looks like someone's ready.
We popped right up there.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is William Sika, and me and a group of boys, Troop 761, from the Taylorsville South State 12th Ward, from West Valley City. We came here to earn the citizenship in the Community Merit Badge.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you and welcome to you all. You're all together there, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? I don't see. Looks like others are staff and then a few visitors we have. Then next on our agenda is the approval of our minutes from June 27th. To the council for a motion.
Mayor, move for approval of the June 27th minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. The minutes are approved. Next, we go to our award ceremonies proclamations. We have two tonight. Employee of the Month Award and Division of the Quarter Award. We'll turn to Councilman Don Christensen for the Employee of the Month Award.
Thank you, Mayor. Anna, I'm going to have you stand up so we know who we're talking about for this while. I'm kind of hiding back over there on the side. Employee of the Month for July 2017. Anna Cutler at the Utah Cultural Celebration Center, nominated by Kevin Conde. Anna has been with the Utah Cultural Celebration Center for 8 years. Over the past 2 years, her assignment went from answering the phones and doing assignments for the director to taking over all the assignments from 2 employees that are no longer with us. Steve Hyde transferred to the finance department, so Anna was trained to be the finance employee at the Cultural Center, receiving and paying all the invoices on a daily basis, ordering office supplies, and doing time cards. Gene Pagels resigned, so Anna became responsible for managing all of the different Cultural Arts Board organizations. Employees at the Cultural Center can often hear Anna answering calls while helping a customer at the front desk, while on the computer doing daily deposits for city treasury, and logging invoices. She gets all the Cultural Center invoices over to accounts payable the next day or the same day she gets them in her tray. She always has the deposit done by 8 a.m., which is an amazing task. If taking on the assignments of 2 other employees and being the customer service professional at the front counter at the same time is not going above and beyond and exemplifying total customer service, it's hard to say what is. And I'd like to add my own personal account. My wife and I have worked with Anna on the Trees of Diversity exhibit for several years. And she's always had that planned, prepared. We knew which trees we were decorating, where they were, and been very professional in that, and then come in and helped us on any trees that didn't get done. So I am very pleased, Anna, to award you the Employee of the Month for the month of July 2017, and if you'd come up and shake everybody's hand. Anna, I think you have some people here with you too. Would you like to introduce them?
This is my husband. Been married to him for 31 years, and we live in West Valley.
The Division of the Quarter Award, I'll be reading that. It's the Human Resources Division under the direction of Amy Ty Critchley. They deserve recognition for their outstanding work in aligning HR practices with the strategies and goals of the city manager and priorities of the city council. When one thinks of the major deliverables of the Human Resource Division, they think of things like hiring employees, staffing and retention, compensation and benefits, training, policies and procedures, And along with the finance and legal departments, they are the guardians of compliance for the organization. However, the HR division has become much more than champions of the employees and administrative experts. They are professional change agents and valued strategic partners within the organization. First, this past year, a new insurance broker was hired to provide greater expertise in the areas of benefit administration, employment law, and training. Negotiations with our medical providers has improved due to our ability to have greater access to important data and analysis, which is one of the reasons we have been able to maintain lower than average increases in medical and benefit costs. Second, systems are now in place or will be online shortly, which will allow our employees to keep track of time, sign up for benefits, change their beneficiaries, and all other tasks our employees do on a day-to-day basis, generally accompanied by tons of paperwork. This new online benefits management system gives our employees greater access to information that they need and all at the touch of their keyboards. We are now almost totally paperless. Third, a new payroll system has also been implemented, which required literally hundreds of hours of time by the HR staff to input data, test the system, and work with the vendor to ensure every detail of payroll and all the bugs were resolved before going online. The first payroll ran smoothly and effortlessly just a few weeks ago. Fourth, every year employees are required to attend annual training on employment laws, ethics policies and procedures, safety and risk management. Working with the legal department, this training was accomplished online. Employees signed in, completed the training, and were given a brief quiz on each subject matter, and after completion submitted their completion of training back to Human Resources for record-keeping purposes. Finally, Human Resources is now working with a worldwide leader in training and development, designing leadership training for both public sector and private safety personnel that will emphasize leading from where you are, regardless of your title of responsibility. One more validation of HR's key role in assisting the organization and our employees to work smarter and create lasting change within their own circles of influence. Every employee in the division is a professional and dedicated to creating an environment where our employees can thrive and business objectives can be achieved. Many thanks to Amy Ty Critchley, HR Director, John Flores, the Deputy Director, Kimberly Foster, Analyst, Eric Jensen, Senior Analyst, Christy Calhoun, Executive Administrative Assistant, Ronald Trinidad, Payroll Benefit Manager, and I believe you're all here. Stand there if you would stand and be recognized by the council. Yes, all of you.
And Mayor, I just received a 1.3 megabyte download from them of our new policy and procedures manual, just before we came here.
Great work. Okay, there's that. You've got hands full. And then they'll take a picture with you all up here in front. Oh, I wrote that. If you'll come back.
Come on back here and we'll get the crew together tight. Great.
Daddy!
Amy? Sorry. She always goes, how many pictures did you take?
Yes, you appreciate it.
It's just interesting that our agenda is full of their work tonight.
That's right. That's right. With that, next we go to our comment period, and we have a number of people who have signed up. 246, and page turned here to the right place. We do have one public hearing, and if you're here to speak to that public hearing, we would not have you give your comments now during public comment. Public comments for everything else. So if you're here for this public hearing on the final plat approval for the JD subdivision, Chesterfield, then we'll have a separate public hearing for that specific item. So if I call your name and that's what you're here for, just say, I'll speak in a moment. Okay, so let's begin. And since we have 6, just to make sure, I'll get out my little timer. So. And we start with Paul C. Nichols. Hey, I saw you earlier. There you are. Come on up.
Paul C. Nichols, 5329 West, 4100 South. I'm here about the speed on the road again. They're getting worse and worse. I talked to an officer yesterday. He said he talked to the chief and wondered what they've done about it. I said, well, can't they get one of them signs that says how fast they're going and let it go for a couple of times, and then if they don't slow down, start writing tickets. So this one here is signs on 48. It's blocking the traffic. You can't see when you go up 48. You can't see down 41st. Every year it's the same way. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Next is Kelly Berton.
Good evening. Kelly Bertosh, 5954 West Zina Circle. Again, this is on the subdivide of the Latham Estate. I've tried to get an answer, and I talked to a couple of you one-on-one, and it just seems like you guys don't care. I appreciate your comment back in December. You flat right said you support us, that we do not need to start putting these spot zoning. People that's got these large lots, don't start splitting them up. I appreciate your comments for that. And I think you joined in on it. I watched you on your video. You made some comments towards it, so yes. Again, I didn't know about these videos until today, when I met with City Recorder trying to get some information, and I asked for some minutes back in December showing that me turning in a list of names that we said no, we did not want this. Again, each one of you all said and approved one way or another that it was nominated, that it wasn't going to be built. You know, this all started out to subdivide for one reason. If the family member did not want this home, and Gail's here, she could say her point to it too. If a family member did not want this home, then they would split the back end and I was to purchase this. Again, the purchase price that I was presented to the night of that meeting was $200,000. That's exceeded that piece of property by 5 times the amount. We could end that simply by not subdividing that in a home. But we, as the community on Zina Circle and the neighboring people on 6000 West, do not want this. You guys all put this vote down and you voted with us to say no more. Then it was allowed that Gail had to, apparently didn't get a notification. So you redid this. Again, in December 14th, in your minutes, and I found the names, right here. That represented us to not have to come to these meetings each time. This is a public documentation. So I hope that you guys would really think about this. Again, some of us did not get a notification to be invited to that voting again. But you already had several people right here already represented. And then you turned around and rezoned it and changed it. This makes no sense. And you know your topic right off the beginning with celebrating the July 4th and the true meaning, we the people. We the people also have a say-so. That's what this country is found on. We the people. It's not we the people up here too. You guys run the city. But it's also a lot of input from the people that live here. Now, as I was going through a lot of these videos, and just like the gentleman that spoke before, he asked each one of you about a question, and none of you had an answer whatsoever until it went to the comments from the city. And his comment was, who really runs this city? It comes down to you. You're the one that has the final word say. With meeting with you, Mayor, you told me that you're really kind of the middle guy. Meeting with Karen, she's all for spot zoning. Why are you guys spot zoning areas in our communities? When I was showing the map of this spot zoning, it also inquired my neighbor Arden Hess's property behind him, which would also come to Bob Whipple and Bob Timothy. They had no clue of this. And yet you guys have already got this potentially spot zone for homes. To the other side, you've got Tessier. He was denied to be able to build at one time because he did not have the footage, which was larger than what you've admitted for this one to be done. Then you have Ken Peterson, who has the next lot. And he told me it would be a cold day in hell before he would allow you guys to do anything on his property. And these are the people that speak. These are the owners of this property. So I hope that you can consider this. This could have ended real simple without a battle. I was all game for paying for fair square for a piece of property, which I really don't need. So again, as I was speaking, she pretty much said, people who build and own these pieces of property pretty much they can do whatever they want. So with that approach, if that's the way it's going to be, my property at one time behind me was 2 feet too narrow to build. But now with your new changing your rules all the time, then maybe I need to go ahead and move and build a house back there. But again, this was my community, my home. I was born and raised here. I don't want this thing there. It's going to be an eyesore to me to have somebody staring at me if I walk at my back. So again, we the people have spoken back in December. You guys spoke too, and then you changed your word. You got integrity in your words in your city. Follow through with integrity and pride. Because your integrity is on the line right now. And there's several of you who are running for mayor. 3 of you that I know of. And a couple that want to take positions of council. You know, there's other people who can ride in. It's time for change. If you guys don't follow your own regulations and what we the public want. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Gail Warren.
I'm the trustee owner of the property that Kelly just talked about. That we are asking that it be mini subdivided so that there would be 2 pieces of property on the land. It has been measured and the measurements have been given to the city and have been okayed and passed by Steve Lehman, I'm sorry. And last month, the committee passed 100% to do the mini subdivision. From what Mr. Bertosh talked about, I don't know where he's coming from and how that's going to affect his property. I went up on Zina Circle. I actually took a picture looking across the circle. You know, usually a circle you have home, 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 home. Well, it goes home, field, ugly barn, home, home, home. And that's what it looks like. We are not planning on building a home there. Whoever buys it may want to, and they will do all the work necessary. They may not want to. That's up to them. The reason we want to divide it is that to make it a little easier to sell the home in the front. It's a nice home, older, but a lot of people can't afford to buy the whole complete property. What Mr. Bertosh said about offering him to sell the backyard for that amount was not true. I said $70,000. He said that was too much. It's worth more now. I hope that you will take the guidance of the committee meeting last month in okaying this particular sale of this property to make it easier. It will be a boon to Zina Circle because they will have that extra home even though the property doesn't go out into that circle. And Mr. Bertosh's property does not face this property. He has a garage there. 2 garages. Does anyone have any questions? I will be more than happy to answer any questions you want to ask me. And I did ask someone on Zina Circle how they felt about having a home there, and they said they thought it would be much better than looking across and seeing the ugly barn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Julie Erickson.
Julie Erickson from Chesterfield. Mayor, council, city manager, and staff, I'm here with an idea to see if West Valley City would honor the memory and service of Officer Cody Brotherson by putting his name on the front of the new building that the police department will be moving to. What a perfect opportunity for the city and citizens to show their appreciation for the service given by Officer Brotherson. There are a lot of things like parks, streets, monuments, and all that can be named but have a special fitting tribute. It would be to have his name on the department's new building. So whoever makes a decision on what name goes on the building, don't waste a chance to do the right thing for Officer Brotherson, who was killed in the line of duty. If this is something we should not only ask the mayor, council, city manager, and staff, but ask the people, like we did naming the city, then I can work on that. I'd like for you to, if anybody could guide me in where we need to go, if that is even an option for the city to honor Officer Brotherson. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Robert Erickson.
Hi, Robert Erickson. I live with her, Chesterfield. So, first of all, let me just say that by no means do I want to take anybody's privilege away to own animals in that area. I mean, it's great. I love hearing roosters crow. I just kind of, there's like 200 of them next door. So, but on the other hand though, this summer's just been crazy down there. It's like somebody sent out a message to everybody, you know, if you need to come down and live in your truck on the street, come on into Chesterfield. Or if you want to come down and build a barn out of this ugly wood and put like 23 sheep in it, come on over. across from us. We can sit on our porch and look across the road at a lot, and I'm sure that if it's half an acre, it would be amazing to me, but I don't think it's even half an acre. But you can look over there and see 4 full-size horses and a Shetland pony at any one time. And then they built this thing. It looks a little like chicken coops across, and what it does mainly is hide the fact that they have a herd of sheep behind it, goats, chickens, roosters, all that. I'm just concerned about the abuse the point system is taking in that area. There's that from Derby Street over to Chatham to the west, there's a lot that's kind of slanted because of a rail line or something that used to go through there. It's different. But deep in that lot, there's no telling what's going on down in there. There's a access from Chatham and an access from Derby. But in between there, I mean, it's just, there's all kinds of traffic down in there and people coming and going all the time. Tons of animals, all that. So again, I'm not trying to, I don't want to take away anybody's right to have animals, but I am concerned about the abuse the point system's taking down there. Ordinance has been down there last week, so we fought against that compound area that was over by the APA school, and now that's all cleaned up, looks great. It was a joint effort, all the police, ordinance, everybody greatly appreciated. So now maybe if we could work on that little area across the street from our house, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Bob Whipple.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak for a moment. Somebody once said the only really things we're fighting for are the things worth fighting for. And I don't know what world Mrs. War is coming from, but this is totally wrong. To jam 2 homes into this field with a so-called ugly barn, ugly field, well, it's not. And the construction of this, and the ordinance of this, and the people on this, once they divide it and move in, it'd be a nightmare. There's no access for utilities for this on Sinus Circle. There just isn't. The water pressure as it is low. So it had to be carried out to 6,000 west, number 1. Number 2, the noise on this thing, why are you spot zoning? There's single family homes, they're half acres, some of them. Mine is more than that on Sinus Circle. Kelly's a little less than that. But the person who died on this so-called lot, he enjoyed it. It was his home. Single family, asset, the most of the neighborhood in that area right there. To do this is wrong. You denied it once based on signatures and input from us, the community, and then for whatever reason, Gail wasn't notified. I have no idea what that includes, but a lot of people were not notified, thinking, okay, she can't apply for this for another year. And so with everyone not being notified, well, here we are, conundrum again. If you're going to do something, let's do it right. It was voted down by you members once. How many times do we have to show up to do this again? Impact Sinus Circle, impact 6,000. It's not a good deal. So thank you for your time. I live on Sinus Circle. And enjoy the evening.
Thank you. So that's all that had signed up to speak. Is there anyone else here to speak on public comment?
Yes, I would.
Let's see. No, I was looking to see, we allow once? 1 minute?
This is a totally different comment on some subject.
No, we allow a person to speak more than once?
Well, you was giving me the signal, so I had to quit.
Yeah, because the maximum is 5 minutes. So I'm just
Our
checking
rules-
with him.
Our rules state, no person addressing the city council during the comment period shall be allowed to comment more than once during that comment period.
This is a totally different comment.
Same person.
The same person.
And we have to follow our rules.
Oh, yeah, I was looking on the wrong.
Well, this is the safety issue that you guys all ought to look at. And
Okay.
it's about
Well-
traffic on 6,000 due to the
And-
closures.
What we would do is invite you to come back next week.
This
That's
is
okay.
bull crap, folks, bull crap. This is a safety issue between the police department, your fire department, and you guys can be held liable for
Mr.
it.
Bertosh, the reason they were set up is to treat everyone
Totally
equally.
different comment.
It's to treat everyone
And you lied.
equally.
Specifically, you told me 200,000.
Excuse me,
This was to her, not you.
when you're speaking in this chamber, everything you
I'm
say is
speaking from
recorded.
me.
And so we don't allow that here. So thank you.
More of this from you, Mayor. More of this. You're as good as him at this. Don't give me that run out, sir.
It is unfortunate that people do not use standard decorum when addressing here. The rules were put in place because, as you know, in our society, things can get out of hand. And so we don't allow people to speak out of turn. We don't allow certain types of comments. And we've set these rules up for a good reason, because sometimes people just can't control themselves. Anyway, with that, then if you'll pass that down. We now go to the next item on our agenda, our public hearing for, oh, excuse me, city manager, yes. And I hadn't even marked it off yet. Got me sidetracked with those comments. Any comments, Mr. Pyatt?
Mayor, I hesitate to make any comments, but maybe I will try to follow up a couple of the speakers that spoke and try to be concise about it. So just sort of going down the list. So Mr. Nichols, who first spoke and then was referred to by the second gentleman, Mr. Bertosh, just I thought it would be appropriate to bring in for the record, anybody who would be watching or watch the video later, that as we all know, Mr. Nichols has been here a number of times before complaining about the very same traffic situation and speed situation that exists to his perception at his address in the street. And we have dealt with him many times, we've worked with him, we've tried to accommodate him, and we have done what I believe is reasonable from a devotion, resources, and time, and those sorts of standpoint. So some might agree with that, some may not, but for the record, I thought I would make that comment. Mr. Bertosh, and looking down the list, I thought somebody else was on this. Oh, Mr. Whipple. Both got up and spoke to the aunt as well as Ms. War on the Latham final plat approval item. And just for also the record, I thought I would mention that the assertion has been made a couple of times, if not more, by Mr. Bertosh particularly, that particular folks were not notified. I have followed that up on at least 2 occasions, once specific to Mr. Bertosh, and we informed him and showed him that we do have the documentation that says he was mailed his notice to his address and to his name. Same applies to Mr. Whipple, although he didn't mention that he had not received his notice. He was included on a list of names that was provided to us by Mr. Bertosh saying these folks did not receive a notice. He and his address did as well. There were also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other names that were provided to us by Mr. Bertosh, claiming that they did not receive notice. They all did have notice mailed to either themselves or to the owner of the property as is listed. Let's see, also on the request from Ms. Erickson on the naming of the facility, that is there's no process actually for naming any of the facilities we have in the past, buildings, parks, places of that nature. That's always been, if those decisions were made by consensus of the council and direction of the council to a particular property. So if they wanted to do that in terms of naming the public safety facility after any particular person, Officer Brotherson or somebody else, that would be in their purview to do so. And then also to the animal question, as Mr. Erickson brought up, we hopefully are continuing to work. I was glad to hear our code enforcement guys are out there doing the particular work that they have been, and we certainly will check into these other issues as well. So thank you for that, Mr. Erickson. And the list running down through the commentary for the evening, I don't think I have anything else, Mayor.
To the council, any comments?
I have one. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to respond back with the comment from Paul Nickel. 4100 South and 4800 West is he mentioned about the size, campaign size right there. We have a multiple size in that corner, and if my size is blocking the street, I mean the other side will block into. I think because my side is going to be the color is nice and bright, and he has an allergy for that color. Maybe you come here and you say something about my side. So that that corner is very much we have size every election year. So I think it's a very commonplace to for candidates to put a side right there, and very much just we try to do our best, and we very careful to do our side in that corner. So I think it's that the fabricate he did not make a correct statement, so I want to correct the record.
In fact, Mr. Pyle, wasn't that designed originally with that chain link fence with sight lines in mind? I think the way that was set up.
It was, yes.
And I think even if there weren't any signs there, it was designed specifically to meet the requirements for safety. So I guess anything can be claimed that way. But in fact, even when it's not political season, there are usually always different things posted there. Little League, softball, football, just different things. So it's actually kind of almost become a community bulletin board. And as are others around the city. It's not unique. And so in many respects, I know I see a lot of things the city puts up too, from the Cultural Celebration Center on some of the corners as well. Anyway, with that, now we can go to the public hearing. And this is regarding application S-7-2017 filed by Rick Evertson. This is for final plat approval for the JD subdivision, amending lots 44 through 50, block 7, Chesterfield subdivision. This is at 1547 West Claiborne Avenue. And this is taking a single lot and dividing it into two lots. Both of them have frontage right on Claiborne Avenue. I believe that it was property zone R16. Both of the lots are significantly larger than that. One 13,000 square feet, the other 9,000 square feet. I think that's all the pertinent information. With that then, that introduction on that issue, we will now open a public hearing on that issue. Is there anyone here to speak to this application? Also, if we also refer to it as ordinance 16-26, and that's what we'll be voting on. So they're tied together. Anyone here to speak to that? No one here to speak to it? Then I will close the public hearing portion, and we'll bring it back to the council for any additional comments and or motions.
Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance 17-26.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Seeing no further comments, we'll turn to our city recorder as required for the roll call vote.
Councilman Benson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Link?
Yes.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilman Hume?
Aye.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Next, we have Resolution 17-72. This is to authorize the city to enter into a development agreement with Premier Land Development on 5.6 acres of property at about 3879 South, 4000 West. And getting all my information in front of me. This particular one has had a lot of discussion by the council. It is proposed that a number of homes, I think the last number we have was approximately 18 or 19 lots, if we count the one, in that particular development. And so there are a number of variances on there that is requested by the developer, since they could not fit homes on those sizes of lots. And so some of those were that they would add basements in all the homes. They would do front and rear yard landscaping with automatic sprinkling systems installed by the home builder, rear yard fencing, walk-in closets, granite and other solid surface countertops, and then at least a vaulted ceiling in one room in the building. So these were offered in exchange for reducing the size of the homes to be built on those because of the shape of the lots, for a Rambler from 2,000 to 1,700 square feet. No, yeah. And then from Ramblers was 3,000 to 2,500 square feet. Or no, I got that right the first time. 2,000 to 1,700 for Rambler, 3,000 to 2,500 for a two-story. So that's the offset
7 of the 19 homes, right?
for 7 of the 19 homes. Thank you for that addition. The rest would still meet all of the original requirements. That is the introduction to the issue to the council.
And I would just point out, Mayor, that the development agreement does not state that there will, or require that there will be 19 lots. It puts 19 as a maximum, including the existing home, but doesn't state that when the property is developed, the standard and statutory minimum house size will be reduced on up to 7 of those lots.
So, okay, thank you for adding that clarification. Mr. Pyle?
Just a couple of comments, Mayor. One, a question was raised in study meeting, which we tried to spend some time in between meetings getting some further information for, so we can present that to the council. The question was about number of lots and what the number of lots would be without the exceptions and the rules. So I'm not sure we still completely have the answer to that, but we have some further information on that, which hopefully will be clarifying, which we can present here should the council desire. The other comment that I wanted to make is really more background to why do we as the staff ever bring any kind of exception, request or proposal or whatever to the council in consultation with or at the request of developers. And that's a pretty hard question. We tend not to do that for exactly the sort of reasons that we're wrestling with here tonight. Sometimes we feel like the overall balance of the question of the particular parcel, this one for example is an infill lot, and has some difficulties, but it's also a fairly, not large, but a fairly sizable piece of ground that we thought, given the concessions that the developer was potentially willing to make, might be better to have that developed as opposed to leave it vacant for a further period of time. However, having said that, we're always in the position of anytime we bring a proposed exception, subdevelopment, development agreement to the council, we completely recognize and support the position and the difficulty that the council has to adopt those, knowing what the regular standards are and what they're trying to accomplish for the overall standards and status of the city. So to that, we also are completely in support of if the council just straight up, no matter what the number of lots are or what the conditions are, and just plain said, yep, nope, wrong fit, and votes it down, that's fine. That has happened many times in the past, and a developer will look at those decisions and either come back from the drawing board with another proposal that fits better, or they don't. Either way, that's okay from a decision standpoint at this level. And I know you already all know that and have dealt with that before. That's almost more probably for the record as opposed to input from the staff, but I thought it might be helpful to just reiterate that.
Since you mentioned that, it reminded me of a comment earlier about how we vote one way and we could vote a different way at another time. And of course, the council and elected officials have that authority. They can vote how they want on an issue. And anyone who challenges the integrity of individuals, and I probably should have brought this up earlier, is incorrect. The reason being is because elected officials do the best job they can, and they will vote, and they can change their votes, and this is not unusual. We've seen it in presidents of the U.S. We've seen it in our state legislature, our governor, and you see it in city council meetings. And additional information, or even just a change of idea, the council votes and has that authority to do so. They are not bound by their first vote. Their first vote stands and is public record and everyone can examine it. But elected officials have that right to vote their conscience on any issue. So just thought I'd mention that since you were talking about voting and that kind of reminded me. Sorry to get off track there, but back to the issue. I think the council would like, I know I would, I think several others would like to hear that information on what it would be like to meet the standards.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. With that, I'll invite Mr. Pastrick up.
He's there.
That, what you showed me between the meetings, is that available electronically as well too? I can't remember. I did not know. Can we bring down the screens and show that, or can you only do it from there?
It is in the packet, so we could pull it up if council would like.
Okay. Russ, what did you
So it's actually the attachments for this item, it's the last attachment, and then it's the second page or second slide of that last attachment is where you can find the drawing. It's the last attachment. It's a resolution 1772, and it's the last file, and then it's the second slide or second image of that attachment. Thank you. So in this latest concept, again, it shows 19 lots. One of them would be for the existing home. And again, just to reiterate, the challenge with this particular piece, again, would be because of the you have the irregular shape. As you move north, the property narrows, so that makes it challenging in terms of coming up with a layout. You have a connection that's needed on 4000 West. You also have a connection that's needed on to the east to connect to the Step Street to the east. And so as you look at potential ways of possibly reconfiguring it, that's what really makes this piece challenging, is because of those unique features of the property. One thing that that I could point out that could be essentially done is if you look at what is lot number, labeled as lot number 1, this would be on the east side down toward the south. So that particular lot is a little bit narrow, particularly because of the corner there. So one way to potentially address that would be, again, there's the potential, at least, of dropping a lot along that east side, so then you could stretch that out and make that wider. So that's just one example of potential change. Where it gets to be more challenging is, again, when you go up into that north area, we have that narrowness in the cul-de-sac area. There may be a way to potentially redesign that, but again, because of the uniqueness of the property, it's difficult to, without doing some significant engineering, to figure out what that could potentially look like. So just, again, looking at in between meetings, there is the potential of making that one corner lot larger. Of course, it would mean dropping a lot to accomplish that. But doing further changes, it's really difficult to say how that could be done, especially in that northern portion where the cul-de-sac is.
Councilman Bueller, I'll let you ask the question.
My question was, if we don't make any exceptions, how many lots would there be? And am I hearing now 17? Is that the answer to the question?
Let me see if I understand. So you're saying if we were to modify this to the point where there are no exceptions?
That's been the question.
Right.
If they're not coming and asking for an exception, how many building lots would there be? That's all I want to know.
And I, again, I'm trying to do my best here, and dropping that one lot, that certainly eliminates the need for one exception. The challenge for me at this point would be, as you look at that north end, it's not readily apparent to me how you would change that and not need an exception. So that's where I'm struggling to answer the question. Is I'm not sure how, without really just completely redesigning it, how you would eliminate the need for an exception up in that corner.
We're assuming a street and a cul-de-sac that don't exist.
True.
So we don't have to confine ourselves to what's been drawn.
True.
To answer that question, how many lots would there be if they were not asking for an exception? 5, 6, 17? I mean, that's all I want to know.
I think he is saying that without it being drawn or redrawn, he can't answer that question.
Okay, then we don't know the answer. And I accept that.
Anything else that you would like to ask?
Well, just looking at this, I think if they rearranged, you could maybe get rid of 2 lots, but I still think these 5 in the cul-de-sac are going to be an exception no matter what. If we leave a cul-de-sac in there, which I'm pretty sure fire lots, or a weird hammerhead, something that may or may not work well for homes. Could maybe get down to 5 exceptions.
I think you can move the cul-de-sac south and just put 3 large lots in there. I don't know.
I guess I'll approach it just slightly differently from other members of the council. I'm not going to draw it. I don't have to draw it. I think that given the conceptual drawing, that it doesn't work. And I'm not ready to make exceptions for my vote based upon the information that we have. And so obviously I'm going to vote no tonight because I don't have enough information to make an informed decision. So, I'm not going to sit here and try and redraw that. I said that's not my job. I didn't create the piece of property with the boundaries it has. It's not my job. I didn't create the streets where they are. They have to deal with that. But we did create requirements for how to build. And we say, meet those requirements. And they're trying to figure out ways not to do it, to maximize, for whatever reason, the number of lots. And so I'm perfectly satisfied to wait until someone comes back so that I can have a better maximum number of lots.
Well, Mayor, and I'm along the same lines as you. I'm not sure for different reasons. I'm not going to want to draw it either. I stated in the earlier meeting I'm not a developer or an engineer or a planner, but I want to be clear and on the record that I am not categorically opposed to exceptions. I want to be flexible, and I would like to see this property developed. We've been looking at different proposals, and I think through different developers and owners over my entire time on the council. And I think homes ought to be built there, and should be built there, and will be built there, and I'm just waiting for the right proposal to come in that complies, if it can, with our ordinances, and if it can't, I just need to know the scope of the problem that we're solving before agreeing to a solution. And that's where I am tonight on that issue.
In fact, I think you reminded me of a couple more things, so thank you, Councilman Bueller. As I look at this, the developer and the owner, when this project's done, they all leave, okay? But it remains a part of our city. The concept being that if this is going to be a part of our city, we establish some guidelines, some requirements to say you should meet these. We, in some cases, make exceptions, but we need good reasons for making the exceptions. And just the shape of the property is kind of a reason, but not the best reason. This can still be developed, and it can still be done. It may be a different number of lots, or it may be a design they haven't thought of, but we'll look forward to that. Any more comments?
Can we just add?
Certainly.
So just one comment. So this is zoned R18, and we are getting quite a few lots that are above the 8,000 square foot size. And so I kind of in favor of a little bit of give and take to get the size lots we're getting. I think that was part of the goal of our rezoning as well, as the size of the house.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm struggling with. I mean, these lot sizes are, the averages are making way larger than what an R18 zone is. So we are getting the larger lots that we've been wanting to have. So from that standpoint, I'm not, and I think Steve stated this too, he's not opposed to exceptions. There just has to be good reasons to do that. But the more I've pondered this over the last 2 hours, the more I'm feeling okay with it. So.
Any further comments?
I'd move for approval of resolution 17-72.
Second?
Any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder for a roll call vote.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Bueller?
No.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Norfelt?
Yes?
Mayor Bigelow?
No.
Motion passes by majority.
Thank you very much. We move on to our next item, which, let's see, we're on resolution 17-113. In the right place there. Okay, I've got to make my mark there. So, this particular resolution is to approve and authorize the execution of interlocal cooperation agreement between ourselves and a number of other cities relating to the Home Investment Partnership Program for the years 2017 through 2020. This particular agreement has been roughly the same. There have been some updates, I think, to it, but it's basically the same that we have had in the past working with this home investment partnership program. And so this will extend it now for the next 3 years. That is the issue before us. Let's see. I don't think there's any budget with this. I think it all comes from those CDBG funds, the home investment program. So I'll get caught up while I'm here anyway, so. With that, to the council for any comments or motions.
Mayor, I move for approval of 17-113.
Second.
Property before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have Resolution 17-114. This is to approve an interlocal agreement, an addendum, between ourselves, a number of cities, which now will include Draper. All the other cities have been in the Metro Fire Agency before, but when a new one joins, we have to do a new resolution. And so this just merely expands the membership in this cooperative agreement. That's the introduction to the council.
Yeah, move for approval, resolution 17-114.
Second.
Property before us, any further discussion? Yes, Councilman Bueller.
I have a question, Mr. Pyle, if you know. Have all of the other, or any of the other cities approved this, or has anybody denied it?
I do not know if they have or if they have not yet. I can tell you that if any one member denies it, then it will not pass.
We haven't received word that it's a
No.
dead issue.
No.
Any further comments? Seeing none, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Just finding my right document. Next on our agenda is Resolution 17-115, authorizing a betterment agreement between West Valley City and UDOT. This will add landscape and aesthetic betterments on segment 6 of the Mountain View corridor. There was a list of those changes, and I was just looking for those. There they are. So this is for a total of, what was it? I guess there's a lot in there, but these are for things like landscaping, electrical lights, head walls and park strips, pedestrian truss bridges, mesh, anti-graffiti coating, pond irrigation and hydro seeding. $157,739 is our portion. The total cost on that, UDOT had money set aside for a certain amount of work, a total of $750,000. That portion that we just mentioned was our cost, which mainly was additional landscaping, I think, that we were going to do. So all of those items, a portion of them would have been done, but by adding our funds, we get the full complement of it. So that's the introduction to the resolution, to the council.
Mayor, I move for approval of resolution 17-115.
Second.
Property before us, any further comments? Seeing none, to our city recorder.
Before I take the roll call vote, I just wanted to note that Karen Lane stepped out
Oh, okay.
just for a moment. Just
Okay.
so she won't be noted on this vote. Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Now, if I kind of talk for a few minutes, Okay. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, next is Resolution 17-116. This is to approve an amphitheater assignment management agreement between ourselves as a city and WV Inc. to provide management services for the USANA Amphitheater. If you remember the discussion on this, this is an agreement we have in place to perform. We've already approved it earlier, but we are now extending the time frame for it. Since our contract ended in the middle of the season out at USANA, which was not very conducive to proper working, so it's now extended through the end of the year. So it'll now go through December 31st instead of the middle of the year, which will put it in the middle of winter when there's not much happening out at USANA. Much better way to approach that. That's the introduction to the resolution to the council.
Mayor, move for approval of Resolution 17-116.
Second.
Properly before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll turn to our city recorder for the vote, noting that we have a full quorum present.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, next we have a large contract, but one that we routinely do. Resolution 17-177. This is to authorize the city to enter into agreements with Select Health to provide insurance benefits and services for our city employees for the fiscal year 2017-2018. This particular contract is $6,536,938. A large sum, but it's built into our budget basically. Now, what did they say? There was a percentage increase.
7.5.
7.5, that's right. Which is still traditionally below the actual average increases for insurance benefits for employees, typically. And that's true of Utah, not, we're not speaking of comparing ourselves to New York or Detroit or Los Angeles. That's true in Utah because of the good experience that we have had in utilization of services. So this is fairly routine. It continues the funding for this benefit for our employees. With that introduction to the council.
Mayor, it's appropriate that we're doing all these tonight since we honored our Human Resource Department earlier. So I will move for approval of Resolution 17-117.
Second. Property before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have Resolution 17-118. This also is for our city employees, so the city to enter into to renew an agreement on a policy with EMI Health to provide dental benefits for our city employees, again, for the coming fiscal, well, I guess we're in the fiscal year. So, started July 1st. So, let's see, this one is $391,907. And with that introduction, to the council.
Move for approval of 17-118.
Second.
Properly before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder.
Councilman Vincent, Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now we have Resolution 17-119. Again, authorizing the city to enter into an agreement for services to our employees with behavioral health strategies for mental health benefits. And this one is $238,000, I believe, in total. With that introduction then, and again, a continuation of what we've done before, to the council.
Mayor, I move for approval of Resolution 17-119.
Properly before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ling,
Yes.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have Resolution 17-120. Again, an agreement for our city employees will be with Rocky Mountain Reserve to administer cafeteria plan benefits and services for our employees, again, for this fiscal year that we are now in. With that introduction, to the council.
Move for approval of Resolution 17-120.
Second?
Property before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ling,
Yes.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Next, we have, under our new business, application S-6-2017, filed by Gail Ward, requesting final plat approval for the Lehman Estates subdivision. This is at 3771 South, 6000 West. This is actually one that we had some discussion earlier on. It is currently one lot, would create two lots, one approximately 13.2 thousand square feet. The other lot would be 12,000 square feet. And with that introduction, then to the council. Yes, Councilman Gibbons.
Mayor, not to be completely obnoxious, but I'd like some input from staff. This zoning has already been changed to R110. We're not voting on the zoning tonight, correct?
Correct.
And although I voted against that zoning, I understand the property has in fact been rezoned. So therefore, what are the entitlements, if any, that the applicant has for the subdivision? And do we have any legal basis to deny it?
We do not. The applicant has met all the requirements for the application for which they have made, and therefore, as an elected body, you have no, you can still vote no, sure, just like it's been said, but you have no legitimate basis for doing so, based on the requirements.
Just out of curiosity, what would happen if we did deny the subdivision when all of the requirements have been met? Does that just open us up to a lawsuit on that
Well,
issue?
the range,
What happens?
yeah, the range of response would be from no complications or implications if the applicant accepted that, or yes, you could open yourself up to possible legal challenge to the decision.
And we have no legal defense.
I never say we have no
Never
legal
say
defense. It would be a difficult position, yes.
It would be more difficult than many others, one might say.
I-
Although, truthfully, anything we do, people can challenge, and sometimes they do, even when we do it right.
That's true, but as I understand it, we certainly have a lot of authority and discretion when it comes to zoning, but not so much with once property's been zoned to deny an application for a subdivision that complies with all of the rules and regulations and that zone.
Yeah.
With that, Mayor, I'll move for approval of application S-6-2017.
Second.
Properly before us, any further discussion?
Just to
Councilman
make one
Vincent.
comment, this is the third piece we've had tonight on a subdivision application, but I think it's interesting, we've talked about the 4th of July and the Constitution and this great country, and one thing that this country has given people of this country is the opportunity to own property and to build on that property. And to deny that opportunity, I think, would go directly in opposition of what this great country has given us. So just want to make that comment.
Well, but your comment is related to this specific event, not to anyone can build anything they
Well,
want.
I mean,
Because we do restrict that.
yeah, I mean, we took all three of these pieces tonight that we've looked at to deny that property owner the opportunity to to develop would be counter to owning property.
Okay. Any further comments to our city recorder?
Councilman Vincent,
Yes?
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Then this particular meeting is done. Let's see, we have our RDA meeting next week, right? Yeah. So, any final comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Non-debatable, no one can have any comments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes unanimously, we're adjourned.